let's get to the marquee fight of the weekend. Naoya Inoue defeating Nonito Donaire via, I think it was unanimous decision. Yes, it was unanimous. And really, I mean, what a back and forth fight. I mean, this is going to be a fight of the year contender, if not a winner, when it's all said and done. A lot of things answered from both men at this point in time. A lot of wrinkles shown in their games. I mean, this was just really a fight that delivered in every single way that you could have asked for. Fu, thoughts on the performance from Naoya Inoue and just overall the fight?
It was pretty amazing. So my overall thought was the entire time that Donaire's just his like ring IQ was really showing, and that early on Inoue was kind of just trying to do what he does to everyone, just have a really solid like 1-2 and put him down at some point with it, right? But Donaire's just, he's a dog, man. Like he was taking every shot. It was almost like he was unfazed. Like maybe 2 or 3 times he kind of stumbled, but that was just wild to me with how powerful Inoue is. And then you could tell that at the start of the 10th round, Inoue decided, like, I'm going to have to show my full range of boxing. You know, like I'm going to, his movement was there. His lateral movement was there. He was stepping around Donaire to get angles on him. And then that's when the fight turned completely into Inoue's favor for me, you know, and he started to really hurt Donaire and, you know, dropped him in the 11th. And I was really surprised that Donaire continued after that body shot. It was, both guys deserve a hell of a lot of praise. And it was just a fantastic fight moment for boxing. Like those guys gave it everything they had. It was pretty special.
It was definitely one of those fights I think we're going to remember and talk about for some time. Definitely, as I said in the live fight chat, a pass in the torch moment for not only the lighter weight classes or Asian boxing, just boxing, period. This was a changing of the guard sort of fight. And like you said, it was a fantastic fight from opening bell to the last bell. I forget what my scorecard was. Patrick Carey asking what our scorecards were. I know I scored it for Inoue, but I forget exactly what my scorecards were. Guys, remember what your scorecards were by chance for this fight?
I had it 17-10. I had 117, 110.
Okay. Gary, your thoughts on the performance of Naoya Inoue versus Nonito Donaire?
Look, I thought, and I'm a big fan of both guys. Like old school Donaire fan from a decade ago when he was knocking guys out at 18 and 22, when he was giving us the knockout of the year every year against Darchinian and other guys. And I thought he fought really well, but I don't see this as the fight of the year. It's a great fight. It was a great fight. But Donaire was tough and landed some good shots, but I never, outside of the 9th round, I think, I never really saw him as a threat to win the fight. And that's what I'm looking for in a fight of the year. Like I had him behind on the scorecards big time the whole fight. I had him winning the 4th, the 8th, and the 9th, and that's it. And it was a tough performance. It was a great performance. You could tell he was much physically stronger. You know, his upper body was much bigger and much stronger than Inoue's. And I think he fought the fight that he had to fight. It just wasn't good enough, right? Like maybe 5 years ago would have been good enough, but right now it was just a step slower. And I think Inoue showed a lot of patience. You know, I didn't know how he was going to respond when he went into the later rounds with an elite fighter like Donaire. But like Fu said, the 10th, 11th, and 12th round, when it possibly on cards, it was getting closer. It wasn't really close on mine, but it's possible. He stepped up. He fought beautifully. The only thing I want to see him do is when he counters, he counters off the high guard. He keeps his hands up, blocks. If he fought a high-volume puncher, could he just be overwhelmed, right? Like, would he just not let his hands go a la Josh Clottey, right? Like, can you get him to shell up? I would have liked to see Donaire let his hands go more and throw more punches. But when you do that, obviously, you leave yourself open to be hit with the right hand, too.
Well, let's go down that avenue there. I will say no to the Clottey comparison and the concern there. I will explain it this way. Clottey, for example, because I think that was a good comparison as to like somebody that was a good boxer, but like you said, could be overwhelmed due to their style of defensive, their just overall defensive style, I should say. Inoue's lateral movement and just overall head movement and ability just to again reassert distance, reestablish distance over and over again. That to me is why that overwhelmed factor is not an issue. I think he could absolutely get caught and hurt. He can definitely recover and get through it and adapt, but big punchers can hit Inoue and rock him. Donaire did it. So like Luis Nery, I think he's not thinking of overwhelming and having more volume than Inoue per se, but maybe there's certain combinations, certain patterns that Inoue does that is predictable, that you can time, that you can counter. I think that's what guys are going to look at going forward. Is there for lack of better sense, because I don't believe this, but I think that's what fighters are going to be looking at. Is there a basicness to what Inoue is doing? Is there a pattern to those combinations that he's just throwing over and over again that you can time and read? Similar to, again, Mike Garcia and other guys that are really up and down boxers. But I think Inoue, he has too many wrinkles to the game from what we've seen in this fight. Like, this is the first fight we can really say and point to and go, this is where we've seen his chin tested, seen him have to adapt from adversity, seen him have to be a counterboxer, like have to add wrinkles to his game within a fight that previously weren't there. Because I can easily say that in any of his other previous fights, he never had to be on the back foot and counterbox the way he did against Donaire. So I'm not too concerned about him being overwhelmed. I think defensively he is actually far better than what we all thought.
No, he is. I agree with that. And when Donaire made him go backwards early, I'm like, if he can keep this up for 12 rounds, this could be interesting, right? Because and Inoue fought well off the back foot, but you can say that you can tell that that's Plan B for him. Like that's not what he wants to do. Although he fought pretty well doing it.
He did, yes.
Where Inoue struggled the most with Donaire is in the phone booth. Like that's where I think he probably has like maybe his biggest weakness is like if somebody can smother him a little bit. Because he seemed to struggle with that. What I would say is if anyone thinks they could just overwhelm him with volume, they just need to go watch the 10th, 11th, and 12th round because unlike Mikey Garcia, he's got amazing lateral movement, great footwork, judges distance very well. Like, dude, Inoue is a beast. He's a very good boxer who's not had to show it because he's such a good puncher. Like, it's crazy.
I don't know if I would say that his inside game is lacking. I would say that I don't know. I don't know if there is because this is one of those fights where it's like, is there really a negative takeaway to take away from it in a way? Like is can we look at this fight and extrapolate concepts and ideas and go to a Tete fight or a Obali fight and go, oh, he had issues with the Donaire and X, Y, and Z. It's going to come up again in the Tete fight or the Obali fight or the Nery fight. Again, I don't know. I don't know if what Donaire did could be replicated by any of these guys, except for maybe Luis Nery, because of the size, the strength factor. Like you need someone that is significantly bigger than him to impose this type of fight against Inoue.
I think Obali is going to try to replicate Donaire's performance, right, and just do it better because he's 5 years younger than him or 4 years younger than him. And fresher, obviously, a lot fresher. I think he's going to try to fight the same because he's physically strong. Like, you look at the size of his back and his shoulders. Obali is a big, solid, strong dude for a bantamweight.
We will talk about Obali more, obviously, with the co-main event. But I think, actually, Inoue's brother showed that Obali is actually probably the easiest unification for Inoue in this division.
Ooh, that's a hot
absolutely.
take.
No, it's not. It really isn't.
I don't think so. I don't think that's a hot take.
Think about it. Hold on. Takuma Inoue, hold on, very quickly. Takuma Inoue lit up Obali and hurt him several times. Well,
here's the other thing is that
Takuma.
Like, you're talking about a guy who, like you said, Donaire has 40-something fights, professional fights against top level guys, and has a very, very high ring IQ and is tough as shit.
And the size factor
he took and didn't go down, that is insane.
It is insane.
And he's got power. So, like, you're not going to run into a lot of guys 118 or 122 that can do what Donaire can do.
Because
Donaire is underrated by most fans in this time period.
Yes.
I think after that performance, and he has to beat someone to prove this, but he may be the second best guy at 118. I always thought 118 is the right weight for him if he can make it. When he went up to 126, like to fight Frampton and Magdalena, those guys were much bigger than him. That was the wrong weight for him to be at.
Well, we talked about this several times, Gary, in the lead up to this fight, that obviously the Burnett fight ended a little bit anticlimactic, obviously due to the injury, but up until that point, Donaire was looking fantastic.
It was a pretty even fight at that point, yeah.
And I just think that, to your point, like Donaire might be the second best guy in the division. But I will say this. This fight, in terms of weaknesses it showed in Inoue, to me, there's only one clear weakness it showed in Inoue, is that there's a clear ceiling on how big he can get, on how many divisions he can rise. Because if Donaire, a guy that wasn't the best featherweight, let's be honest, a guy that lost to guys like Nicholas Walters and Guillermo Rigondeaux at 126, if he is a guy that was able to impose his size and strength in a significant way against Inoue, then I think we really should stop talking about like Loma super fights or Gary Russell Jr. or Leo Santa Cruz or any of these guys really at 126 at this point in time. Like there's really
at least right now.
Yes. Like there's, I think, again, this fight showed at least that weakness in Inoue, that he's not this guy that's going to tear through 8-10 divisions. And to be honest, that was a far-fetched, hyperbolic narrative that fanboys were catching on for some reason. I don't know why. Like Fu.
With skilled matchmaking, he could beat someone at 126.
Well, yes, of course. But that's not what we're saying here.
I understand that.
Can he beat Shakur Stevenson, Josh Warrington, Gary Russell Jr.? No.
Those guys is too big for him.
No, yeah.
He comes up from 108. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
and think about it, that's the only criticism we have of Inoue really out of this fight, is that, oh, well, you just can't go all the way up to 126 and fight Loma like we thought. Oh, darn. You're going to stay here and fight Zolani Tete. Great fight, by the way. Obali, great fight, by the way. Louis Neary, the best fight in the division that can be made right now. And then on top of that,
really good fights at 122.
And again, 122 is a really fun, interesting division that, in terms of size disparity, it's going to give Inoue some issues. Daniel Roman, Ray Vargas, Emmanuel Navarrete. Oh my God. Can you imagine Emmanuel Navarrete marching down Inoue? That might be the kryptonite to sort of Inoue's game, is that guy that just is that durable, that can put combinations together, and that has the pop that Emmanuel Navarrete has.
It'll be like, hey, Value Vev, or whatever that fucking fight was. You know?
Yes. But digressing from that, Donaire, I want to talk a little bit about Donaire here, since I think he deserves some credit from this performance in this fight. Do you think his stock and his sort of legacy has actually risen from this loss, Gary?
I mean, go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a reminder, and it cements his legacy of how good he was, right? Because at 26, I think people forgot when he tried to come back. I guess it was a year ago or so when he first,
against Carl Frampton.
Yeah, people were like, he wasn't that good. Like, no, he was really, really good. Like, he was pound for pound a top 5 guy. Yeah. Easy.
He's going to be he is 100% going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. Yes. That was for sure. I mean, you go through the bantamweights and the super bantamweights, he's one of the best ever. His run there was really, really impressive, where he fought everyone and iced them.
I don't know about one of the best ever, but definitely like top 15.
Okay, yeah, 10 to 15, sure.
Well, look, if you're top 15, that's amazing.
Yeah. But I mean, for some people, when they hear one of the best, they're thinking top 3, top 5. You know what I mean? Like that's what I think of when I hear one of the best, to be honest. But to sort of stitch on your points, Gary, I think Donaire's. I just want to make this point really, really, really fast. The timing of Donaire's like renaissance and Pacquiao's renaissance is just poetic. It really is. Like, you have probably the 2 best Filipino boxers of all time, let alone this generation, right, guys? I can't think of any other Filipino boxers that really have a better legacy than these 2 guys. And they really were in a rut, stagnated throughout their in their career, and on losing streaks, and just really were struggling. And then all of a sudden they turned the corner, figured it out. Pacquiao went to a new promotional air quotes team in PBC, got some more fights, just got rejuvenated, it seems. And Donaire went back to his former weight class and rejuvenated himself and had this renaissance. It's just cool to see. Like
a new trainer as well, right?
Yes. You know, I would dream and wish that like a 30 for 30 documentary would be put out about that narrative of Filipinos' best boxers of all time simultaneously had rises in their career around the same time, right? Had dips around the same time, and then at the same time, a career renaissance. That's unusual. Just something that's really impressive to see. And really, I am curious to see what is next for Donaire, because I really do want to see him fight the rest of these guys in the division. I do want to see the Zolani Tete fight. I do want to see maybe like a Takuma Inoue Donaire fight as like the tune-up comeback fight, right? Both guys just took L's, matched them up. But it would do great numbers in Japan or the Philippines, right? Inoue, though, obviously what's next for him is going to be probably Nordino Bali, so this is probably a good time to talk about the co-main event, right, guys? So any last thoughts on the main event of Naoya Inoue versus Nonito Donaire?
Oh, real quick, I think this is a good question. He's Patrick Carey saying, would Prime Donaire beat Inoue?
I would probably bet my money on it, yeah. But then again, like Prime Donaire is still a giant at 118, and Inoue still got that came up from 108. So that size disparity and that strength disparity is always going to be a factor. So add in youth, athleticism that's maybe no longer there, obviously. Yeah, I might pick Donaire.
Let me ask this, right? Is this Prime Inoue? He's 26 now, I believe. Which
we don't
is
know.
Crazy. Yeah.
We don't know.
So is this the best he gets?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I would probably doubt it. Like look at a guy like Canelo, who like with every fight he keeps getting better and better, and he's only 29 years old. It's like what
that
the hell
was
is
my
going
comparison,
on?
right? Because I said this fight reminds me of Canelo's fight with Cotto, right? Where he beat the old veteran who really tested him and he passed the test. And I thought at that time, okay, this is peak Canelo. I guess that was 3 or 4 years ago. And Canelo's much better now than he was then. So, maybe maybe Inoue gets even better from this point on.
I think there's a moment in every boxer or athlete's career where they get extremely tested, like Jordan versus the Bad Boy Pistons or, any of those moments, right?
Yeah.
And that was Inoue up until the 9th round. He was really struggling with just everything Donaire was doing. And just when you're a big puncher, if the guy doesn't go away, you have to be mentally tough enough to ride that wave, figure out what you're going to do, right? Mm-hmm. And that was what was impressive about Inoue is he came out in the 10th round and he did things he never had to do before. And you notice, damn, this guy can move laterally really well. He's stepping around Donaire really well. He's putting together combination punches really well. He's going to the body. He's doing everything that he's going to need to do when he gets to the guys who he can just put down with a solid 1-2.
And and we should also talk about Inoue probably being one of the best athletes in boxing, because that guy's speed, power, strength, and cardio, like it's a 10 out of 10 on every like criteria, right? Like it's
hand speed is nuts.
He's one of the perfect athletes in the sport. Like you might like him, like an Earl Spence, like an AJ in a sense, right? Like certain guys are just like perfect athletes. Like you literally look at the checklist of what an athlete is supposed to do. They do it all, and they do it all in spades. So it's one of those things where let's talk about Nordino Bali, another great athlete also, I would say, in the same weight class, fighting the brother of Naoya Inoue and defeating him, Takuma Inoue, via unanimous decision. And this fight was a lot more competitive than I thought, and it became a lot more competitive throughout the fight. There was a lot of ebbs and flows with this matchup. It seems like O'Bali is one of those guys where he's a darter, so he's darting in and out of action, and therefore you can counter him because of that darting in and out of the pocket. And Takuma Inoue, a really talented boxer, just as talented probably from a technical perspective as his brother, but just doesn't have the power, was landing shots after shots after shots, landing counter right hands, landing combinations, even hurting Nordino Bali, for God's sake, a couple times in the fight. And Takuma Inoue has 3 knockouts and 13 wins. I don't know what to think about Nordino Bali after this fight, to be honest. Because this was one that he should have won in more definitive fashion because he was the heavier hitter. He was the more established name. He beat Rashi Warren. Takuma Inoue has never beat anyone that's established in the division, and he has no power, and yet he was able to put hands on Nordino Bali. If you're Naoya Inoue, how you're not looking at Obali right now as an easy check because your brother, who doesn't hit as hard as you, was hurting him and putting hands, and you're just as good, if not a better boxer than him, and you hit significantly harder than Takuma Inoue. I feel like this, in theory, obviously, we can talk about, I want your guys' thoughts about the Obali and Takuma Inoue fight. But on top of that, the Naoya Inoue and Nordino Bali fight, because that's probably next. What do you think about that, Fu?
I think Inoue wins that easily. Even though, like, I do think, like Gary was saying earlier, that Obali could try to implement some of the things Donaire did, maybe just some bully tactics. But realistically, like, let's face it, Obali's not going to have the ring IQ. He doesn't have the experience that Donaire has. He hasn't fought any top-level guys like Donaire has.
Okay.
So, realistically, I think that's an easy win. And like you said, like, he did struggle at times with Takuma Inoue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I still think he's a good boxer and everything, but I think he's going to run into like a TJ Doheny thing where he's just like, he's going to peak at that spot. You know, I just don't see him going and testing a lot of like Neri or Tete or Donaire. Even like if Obali fights Donaire, I think Donaire could beat him.
I agree. Yeah.
So,
I agree as well. Gary, thoughts on?
I have a different opinion. I don't think Obali is going to beat Inoue.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could beat everyone else in the division. Maybe. Right now, he definitely does, but maybe could. The power, the speed, the combination punching is all there. Like I think Takuma Inoue is an excellent boxer. He just he's not going to have a ton of success at the elite level because he has no power. But technically, fundamentally, he's fantastic. His defense is good. His head movement is good. He throws really clean, crisp combinations. There's just nothing on it. Like, I think Takuma Inoue is really, really good. So I think, and I had it like 9-3 for Obali. I think he beat him convincingly. I think there's room for improvement. Like, I think Obali needs to learn how to fire that jab more. He can't just lead with hooks and right and left hands against
and just
Inoue.
Literally like jump into the pocket expecting that to work.
He needs to throw that jab to set everything else up, and he needs to throw that jab to make Inoue uncomfortable. Jab him to the body.
Jab to the body. He needs
but that's
a jab
a lack
to the body.
of experience.
Yeah.
You know, that's where it is. It's a lack of experience with top level talent, you know?
But Gary,
what I'm saying is I think he's good already, and there's more room for improvement, right? Like, I think he gets even better even though he's 33. I think there's things he can implement that make him better. I still don't think he can beat Inoue, though.
No, I think we're all in agreement with that. But you said that you waffle a little bit on there about what you really think. So I don't want maybes. I want like yes or no's. Okay, here, Gary. Do you think that Obali beats Luis Neri? Yes or no?
If I had to bet, no, I'd pick Neri.
Okay. Manuel Rodriguez, a guy I know you're high on.
If I had to bet, I'd pick Rodriguez.
Really? I would pick Obali, actually, in that case.
I want to see Obali's chin tested. Like, Warren's not much of a puncher.
Okay.
Takuma Inoue is definitely not a puncher. If he's going to eat shots, I want to see his chin.
No, good point. Good point. No, good point. That's actually a good, very objective point you put out there. Tete, Obali.
I'd probably pick Obali.
I'd probably pick Obali, too, to be honest. Tete, dude, go back and watch that fight he had in the quarterfinal or whatever. Remember Tete's, the first opening fight? That was rough, man. That was rough. And Tete's biggest win was a guy that wasn't Omar Navarez, who Inoue beat years and years before.
Navarez was literally 42, I think, at that time. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't.
But that Tete's best win. I would pick Obali against Tete. So I think we're in agreement here, Gary. I don't think Obali is bad or overrated. I just think that he's not the top 3 guys in the division. I think we're in agreement there, right? Like, I wouldn't pick him against Inoue, Neri, and probably Donaire at this point. And then maybe, you throw in Emmanuel Rodriguez, maybe you throw in a Tete. Gosh, who else would maybe be in the mix there?
Kudras and Donaire. You pick him up?
Kudras has looked bad lately. No, I don't.
You think Kudras is shot, right?
I don't know about shot, but he has that Mauricio Herrera vibe right now.
118's pretty stacked, though.
It is.
It's a
good
really
division.
good division. And Burnett, unfortunately, retired, who I thought was the second best guy in the division.
Yeah.
What about Josh Greer?
Are we really?
He didn't look good his last fight.
His last 2 fights. And I thought he was arguably...
I like Joshua Greer, but I think he has hit a ceiling for a while now. I think he clearly is that card filler guy, and there's I've said this a lot. I don't mean this as a derogatory classification of fighters if you're just a card filler, but that's what he is. And I think guys like Obali are not card fillers, in my opinion. Guys like Neri aren't. Guys like Tete aren't. They are elite world championship caliber opponents. And I don't think Joshua Greer is, to be honest.
You can still be in fun fights as a card filler, too.
Absolutely. You can have a great career. You can be a great club level guy. Absolutely.
Rosado is a great card filler guy.
Absolutely.
He's in great fights,
And he occasionally main events.
Money.
He occasionally main events the small regional show, obviously. There's space for that.
Yeah, Golden Boy has a whole bunch of them. Ronnie Rios is a great card filler, right?
Yes.
I mean, we were talking about that's the only fight I look forward to watching on the KSI Logan Paul card is watching Ronnie Rios scrap it out for 10 rounds. I guess it's 10. But I thought Greer was going to be a superstar. I thought he was going to run 118 and 122, based on the athleticism, the speed, the power, the reflexes. And then it's just he stopped getting better, and now it's this is as good as he gets.
Yeah, I think that's, again, he's hit his ceiling, and that's fine, but it is what it is. Fu, I don't know if I got your thoughts on Obali, Takuma Inoue, or at least Inoue and Obali, or did you give your thoughts on it? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I think that Inoue will easily handle Obali. I think he'll try to rough him up, but I just don't think he won't have what Donaire had, which is just, enough fights with the top level guys to be, tricky enough to land some good shots. And I think Obali would get knocked out or, the fight will get stopped.